Pallav, it's great to have you here and talk about your bootstrapping journey. Friends, Pallav is the co-founder of FusionCharts, a very successful bootstrap startup which started in Kolkata and currently serving thousands of customers globally from Bangalore. In addition to being a very successful bootstrap company, Pallav is also anchoring, one of the key anchors of Boot Up India. This is the latest initiative from iSpirit to grow the product ecosystem. So let me welcome Pallav, and we will be putting forward a few questions, which would be very important, and hopefully tell you more about Boot Up India. So Pallav, welcome, and how are you doing today?
Hey Sandeep, thanks a lot. Thanks for hosting me. I'm doing great today. Always a good day.
Excellent. That's like a startup. Every day is good, and there are too many too few days in a week to actually count, right?
I know each day is
Hey,
unique.
Pallav. Right. So, I'd like to start with a brief journey about yourself, and we kind of go back into the past a little bit, if you like. So, would like to share, very quickly a few words about how you started, and how's been your journey since you started.
Right. So I call myself an accidental entrepreneur, Sandeep. FusionCharts was not started as a business. It was started as a way to make pocket money. So when I was in high school, I just needed a lot of pocket money for my coffees and bowling alleys, and I realized that I had some coding skills which I could utilize to make something that would pay me money. Started off as a simple article for a website, which would pay $1 a word for innovative things like innovative articles on web technologies. And at that point in time, I was coding on Macromedia Flash, which is now known as Adobe Flash, and which is not famous anymore after HTML5 came into being. And we're trying to figure out how to make better charts on web. And that is how I coded something which looked pretty fancy at that point in time, wrote an article on it, and got it published. And then a lot of requests started coming in for customization of that chart, so one feature of the other. And rather than doing for individuals, I started productizing the entire charting library, and that is how the business started. So this was back in 2002, and for the first 3 years, I was doing it all alone, building the entire product, the website, the sales, the marketing, before I actually went on to hire somebody for the team.
Hey, that sounds so weird because when you look at inflection points like Flash getting kind of accosted by HTML5. So I was one of the people who thought that, hey, all those Flash-based tools and products are just going to disappear, and what are the founders going to do next? So I think it's awesome to be able to look at those kind of situations and come out a winner, and maybe completely change the way you actually work with the market. So you started, you said you started FusionCharts to gain some pocket money, or like they call it in the valley nowadays, ramen. Just earn enough to buy ramen for yourself, right? So was bootstrapping something that you did by choice, or was it because you felt that that's the only way that you can really go forward?
So this was in 2002, and in that point in time, I'd never heard of VCs, venture capital funding, and plus I was 16 years old, 16 and a half to be precise. Even if I would have heard of VCs, in my right mind, I would not have thought that anybody would come and fund me. So bootstrapping was not a choice. It just happened coincidentally. And the good part about bootstrapping at that point in time was that I did not know about any other external options. And it just helped me focus on one thing. Hey, you know what? Let's make products and get money from customers, because that's the only source of money that I could think of. And one thing led to another. And after a point in time, we started having such a cash flow business that we never had to go for a VC, because our cash flow was helping us grow at every single point in time. So it was more a accidental choice than by design.
I think that would resonate a lot with several bootstrapped entrepreneurs because we've seen very many a lot of bootstrap entrepreneurs who get into business, a software or a product business, just thinking about the business and not even not even a doubt in their minds as to how it will get funded or how it will scale up, and they just focus and work on the business. So that's great. That's really awesome. So this journey must have been really hard for you in terms of scaling up from pocket money to providing pocket money to several more people. A few hundred people who probably be working for you. So what was the most difficult challenge you faced? When you were really scaling up, how was that journey for you?
So I think the toughest part of bootstrapping is not about convincing yourself or trying to get some money for your ramen or pizza or beer. The toughest part about bootstrapping is convincing other people to join you. because everyone hears about this so-called funded companies or the big companies or the brand names which they want to join. And as a small, tiny, self-funded bootstrap company, how do you share your vision or your story with them? And that's the toughest part. So you have to read. So that also brings a very good aspect of it. It means that people who are joining you for the real thing, which means they are sharing the passion for your product. They're sharing the passion for delivering a solution for the customers. While it takes a lot of time to be able to find those people, but once you found them, the culture is set the right way from day one. So I'd say in terms of scaling, money is never the problem. It's more about being able to leverage the strengths of your team members and trying to get them in the first place is the most important scaling challenge that one will face. And the more and more senior that you want to hire, so for example, if you want to hire a head of sales, or if you want to hire a head of marketing, and you want that guy to be experienced for like, let's say, between 6 and 10 years, he would not be as willing to join you if he had another choice at a funded startup or a larger company. So how you solve that as a bootstrapped entrepreneur is very much dependent on how resourceful you are.
Right. So you're saying that, a potential hire would say that, it's very sexy to work for a VC funded startup, but, it's not as sexy to work for a startup which is successful. And so, you got to kind of make them believe that, hey, it's very sexy to work for us. So that's where I think a lot of energy and charisma actually flows in from the founder to ensure that, he's able to find the right people and then, get them to join and work for him.
That's
So
true.
you've
That's
gone
true. That's very important.
right, yeah. So it's very easy to really say that, hey, there's this successful bootstrap company, and we kind of believe in bootstrapping because you found that there are other people who are successful. And startups actually get a lot of confidence when they see stories like yours from FusionCharts. But if you were to actually start up again, and you were not 16 years old, right? How would it be different for you? In terms of raising growth capital, would you still look at doing things organically, or maybe look at two different options? What would you have done?
So again, that again depends on, do I have the experience and hindsight of starting a FusionCharts behind me? If I have the experience and hindsight of starting a FusionCharts behind me, the first thing I would do is probably look at a slightly bigger market. So when you're bootstrapping, you do not essentially first up look at a market size or the total available market, which you do in case you have to go raise a fund, because the VC will first ask you what is the total available market size. So most of the bootstrap companies, they start in a niche market where there's a clear problem and they're trying to provide a solution to it. And it's a great thing to do at that point in time because you're able to establish yourself as a thought leader or a market leader in that niche segment. But as and when you move ahead, what are the complementary areas that you can grow, and are you capturing those areas fast enough? And do you have the resources and the bandwidth, internal bandwidth, to be able to capture those? So sometimes bootstrapping does not allow you that flexibility at a very early stage. But if you're growing fast and if we're able to identify those complementary opportunities, at that point in time, we always have an option to go and raise growth capital. So in our case, if I had to go back all over again, I would say I would compress this 12-year journey into possibly 6 years or lesser by moving much faster and committing less mistakes. And possibly you would have raised growth capital at a point in time where it would have helped us establish a much larger share of the market.
Right. So essentially, I guess then it's all about speed, right? If you're able to achieve, breakneck speed, to take advantage of situations in the market, opportunities that are coming, and if you're able to do that on your own, it's great. If not, you ought to, really look at alternative ways and raise growth capital and move forward. But I guess the situation is very different, where today you cannot afford to wait for things to happen. You really have to either grow up and scale up very fast on your own, or go and look for growth capital. Looking at the number of startups, purely the number of startups that get created in every single space is phenomenal compared to what was earlier. So, shall we talk a little bit about Boot Up India? You're one of the anchors of Boot Up India, and you've been through the whole phase where this was conceptualized, and now it's kind of off the floor. So, why is iSpirit doing this program? Could you share some light on what's this all about?
Right. So our aim at iSpirit is to help spawn as many successful product startups that we can. Today, unfortunately, as per media, success is only defined by fundraising. But we believe otherwise. We believe that there are a lot of companies out there who are doing phenomenal jobs for their customers, and they're break even or they're profitable and they have an ability to grow, and they're investing in the right places in terms of their teams, the processes, and the products that they are building for their customers, but they're not getting the media love, they're not getting the traction, they're not getting the public recognition, which would help them scale even faster. So at iSpirit, we want to highlight those companies as well, because right now they are otherwise cast aside by the rest of the media, but they are actually success stories as well on an equal footing.
Right. So you run a company full time, and you've been kind of well versed with what you want to achieve with Boot Up India, and you're spending a lot of time on this. So what draws you into contributing to make Boot Up India happen, and spend time with startups and product founders in the bootstrap ecosystem to drive this whole thing? So what is your kick?
So I think there are two aspects to it, Sandeep. One is the paid forward culture, which is what has made the Valley. Like every time you have learned something, how do you ensure that somebody else is also being a part of that learning so that he can build up on that learning and use it for his own product or company? And this is how the culture of the Valley is. So that is definitely which I completely believe in, because I've been mentored by a lot of people in my career, because of which where we have reached where we are. And the second is every time we are interacting with another product entrepreneur or a bootstrap entrepreneur, there's so much learning for me as well. So it's always a give and take. So I think that sums it up all. It's a give and take philosophy of being able to contribute and in the same time adding value to what I'm doing.
That's really something I think we ought to be doing much more, and keep building upon that, because I think one of the biggest reasons for success in the Valley is people work with each other. It's not about competition. It's about learning and paying forward, and making things happen as an ecosystem. So I think it's happening here, but it's too few and far between. So I think initiatives like this are in the right direction, and hopefully with involvement, deep involvement, folks like you, this is really going to scale up and take good shape. So how do you expect the startups that are working in this program? What is the intended way in which iSpirit is actually going to help them?
Right. So I think the way we were looking at it is what is the value that a VC adds to a company after a company gets funded? So VC helps him. VC first validates his idea. A VC helps him get some media love. VC helps him connect with the customers, and the VC then mentors him. And we're trying to extrapolate all of that and say, how can we do the same for a bootstrapped entrepreneur? So part of our Boot Up India program is to select these 8 companies and expose them to the media and saying, hey, these guys are doing equally good work. And then internally, we're also putting up a program where they're going to be connected with some of our jury members or other mentors, where they will be receiving they'll be receiving mentorship on what they have been doing. And this would not be something which is a very theoretical mentorship, but it'd be more on, like, if you're a bootstrap entrepreneur, you'll run into various problems at different types of problems in your life. Some of those problems would be very trivial, and some of those problems would be strategic. And more often than not, somebody in the network would have solved it in a clever way. How do we ensure that that guy is able to get over this problem very soon? So this is the kind of mentorship that we'll be providing. And that being said, once all of this is done, we'd also be helping them with their overall strategy or anything customer connect that we can do for them and things alike.
So this seems to be more like a structured program where they're actually going to undergo a 1-year mentorship, with specific intervention points, and have access to resources from iSpirit and other product founders who've experienced similar challenges and successfully been able to adapt to situations and overcome these kind of challenges.
That's right.
Right. Okay. So if you look at the current product ecosystem in India, several startups are going down the VC route, and the bootstrap startups typically have not been celebrated enough. So if you look at the bootstrap startups that you've been interacting with, or you've had chance to kind of work with, is getting funded a measure of success, and therefore should be celebrated the way it is, or do you also see bootstrap startups being ripe for celebrating?
So I think that's a question of philosophy. Do you want to celebrate the means, or do you want to celebrate the goal? If you're celebrating funding, we are still celebrating the means. And that being said, success almost always guarantees funding. Funding never guarantees success. Even 8 or 9 out of 10 funded companies still fail today. So the fact that we're just celebrating the means is something we need to relook at. We need to celebrate bootstrap companies who have achieved their first 10 customers, 100 customers, their first $1 million in revenue, their 100th employee, their first global award. Those are things which will inspire a lot of other companies to go and do it out there. Today, if a lot of entrepreneurs are relying on VC money to even get started, that's a wrong notion, or that's the wrong signal we are sending out to a lot of potential entrepreneurs in the country who could be solving some good problems. And more, I believe not every company has to be $1 billion company. You can very easily build a $5 to $10 million company, have 50 to 100 employees, solve a real customer problem, and be happy about it. But every single time you hear about a funded company, the entire hypothesis behind us is that it's going to be $1 billion company. But if you look at the entire story, even in US, in the last 7 years, we've only created 40 to $50 billion companies in the IT sector, in the technology space. So why should we not enable and inspire those other non-funded companies to grow up and potentially become larger business and be happy about it?
Sure, excellent. So, Pallav, you spoke about the way you started, you bootstrapped, with nothing, to show. You started programming and coding, and you brought FusionCharts to the place where it is right now. So, you also spoke about the fact that there's a right time to scale up in terms of getting growth capital, and there's several different ways to do it. So that's great. That's awesome. But would you say that there are some of the ways of raising growth capital are better suited to some types of companies and not other companies? What is your view on this?
So, I mean, there are businesses where you don't get to see your first dollar till you are the market leader. So, let's say a consumer space where monopoly is the only thing that matters. In which case, growth capital is something you need to raise right away. I mean, not just growth capital. You need to raise a bootstrapped capital. You need to raise a survival capital. Then you need to raise growth capital in such cases. So, take for example, e-commerce. You cannot just be a niche e-commerce players anymore because somebody will come and gobble that space up. But if you're building IP, let's say software product, so think of internet businesses that are built from India. Let's say Kayako of sort, which is a help desk ticketing system. Let's say visual website optimizer. These are very niche tools which can be sold online. And all the customer validation is coming online. You are in constant touch with the customers over phone, WebEx, email, and things alike. Now, nothing stops you from building a great product there. And once you have that product, you have that early validation, you have some revenues, then you go and put a growth then you go and put growth philosophies behind it and build a marketing team, sales team, outbound team, BD team. And then at that point in time, you have an option of funding it either internally or externally. If you think that funding externally and for putting in every dollar you get more than $1, that's a clear growth capital opportunity that you can go and leverage. But if you think that you still want to build some more moat around the business and go further in that path before raising a capital, that's again a personal choice. So in formula, it's a personal choice of whether you want to bootstrap it at that point in time or raise growth capital.
Right. I think that's that's obviously a call that a founder has to take based upon what sector they are working in and what stage of business they are in, what stage of growth they are in. So thank you so much, Pallav, for sparing time and attending this talk. We would like to definitely see Boot Up India being one of the trailblazers, and with folks like you and others who are there. I think this is going to be a rocking show. So 15th September is the last date, I guess, for people to submit their nominations, and the launchpad happens on the 2nd of October. So hope to see you there, Pallav, with the rest of the team. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching. It's been awesome having you here.
It's been a pleasure to be talking to you.